Welcome to Get Over It, the consciousness transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. Folks, we got a money show today, and it's not going to be what you expect a money show to be, but you're going to learn a lot. And I encourage everyone, and I mean everyone, to go out and get this book. It's called The End of Scarcity, The Dawn of the New Abundant World by Kristen Ragusin. And it's a story that teaches finance along the way. You don't have to have a financial degree. You don't have to even understand money. You're going to be able to glean what she's talking about, but more importantly, put it to use. So I recommend this to everybody. You guys know I don't say this is a book as a keeper on my shelf very often, but this one is definitely a keeper. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through the blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's been holding you back. But you guys know I always ask, are you truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. A bit about me for my new listeners, intuitive since birth. I'm a third generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I'm the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind, body, spirit connection, allowing you to live your best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist. So whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website. That's moniquechapman.com. And I invite you to like me on Facebook and follow me on LinkedIn. And guys, if you like the podcast, subscribe, give me some stars, help a girl out. We would really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My guest today, Kristen Ragusin, is the best-selling author of The End of Scarcity, The Dawn of a New Abundant World. She's a wealth management consultant of 30 years with Merrill Lynch, and now she's with Raymond James. She's a certified digital currency professional. She has a master's degree from Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. She has certificates in fintech from MIT and money and society from the University of Cumbria in London. She has traveled throughout the world. Her journeys include climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, hiking in the Sahara Desert, and studying at the spiritual school in the foothills of southern India. And you can check her out on her website, and that is the endofscarcity.com or KristenRagusin.com, and that's KristenRagusin.com. And I'll ask her if I said that right now. Welcome, Kristen.
Oh, thank you so much, Monique. It's so nice to be here with you. Yes, Ragusin, that's the right way.
Okay, because I meant to ask you beforehand and I didn't. I was like, oh, but it is the way it is. This wonderful book, The End of Scarcity. This is truly a prime time to have this book come out because so many, especially in government here and in other parts of the world, they want to make us believe that we're on the brink of disaster, we're completely falling apart, and there's nothing that can be done. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We're sort of, I think, in the middle of the birth canal, and definitely we could be getting big contractions of fear and that make it worse. But the good news is it is the illusion of scarcity for sure.
Okay, so what do you mean by the illusion of scarcity? Because there's so many people, even some of the folks that listen to this podcast are like, okay, I don't have any money. I lost my job. I got 5 mouths to feed. I can't. And I think sometimes that I can't energy holds us back, but talk to us about that.
It really does. Everything is real. So the scarcity on one level is real, especially when we're trapped in that, when life is closing in. And yet at the same time, all other possibilities exist at the same time. So just like we're tuning in, once we are able to get over that hump of in that acute fear where the survivor is really turned on and the anxiety is high, because the brain can start to shift at that point. We get stuck in that lower loop of the reptilian brain. And so all the beautiful inspiration that's calling us can't be accessed. And at the same point in time, once we get to relax a little bit, take a breath, it's the whole other world is absolutely waiting for us. And the nature of the planet, even just at its core, is an abundant planet. It is an abundant world. But I like to start to say with our passion and our imagination is the most abundant resource that we have that can't be turned off.
Okay. You say that money is a social agreement that we make up. How is that?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I sort of think, when we start running, we hit Earth, we start running around, we look, we see the stars, we see the moon, we see the sun, we feel gravity, and we see money. So we just assume money is part of the context. It's something that we don't question. We just know that we need to figure out how to earn it, how we're going to spend it, maybe invest it, and that's about it. And yet money is a totally different concept. It's not a law of the universe. It's a tool that we create in society based on a few assumptions. The first one is that it's better to live together, that we live in communities and we live with other people because life is richer and it makes it worth living. And then we decided, well, gosh, we are going to develop a technology that will assist us in all that we create and exchange with one another. And that's where money came in, to be a tool, to be this playful, wonderful thing to assist us. That's what its original intention was.
Okay. So if it's our original intention to have this tool to have more access, to have a more positive life, how did we get to the point that we're at today where it just seems like it's for some people, it's very attainable. And for some people, it's not attainable at all in their minds. And, a lot of people are in the middle. So how did we get to this place of such disparity?
Absolutely. And the disparity could definitely get worse in the process of it getting better. But not to lose heart, because it is just this point that this tool of technology has to be designed properly. So just like we'll use the computer or the phone or the radio or any of these mediums of technology to assist us in communicating with one another. Is the phone a good technology? Is the computer a good technology? Is it effective? Is our money an effective technology the way it's designed to assist us in the exchanges with one another? Now, today, no, the answer is absolutely not. Our money is designed in such a way that it does produce the scarcity or at least the illusion of scarcity. Money is a technology that has been redesigned many, many times in history. And even in the history of the United States, 8 times we have changed the way the dollar is created and comes into society. When the money is designed correctly, communities thrive. We have Renaissance period. Life really is in that abundant flow and works for everyone who wants to contribute. And most people want to contribute. It's just often they feel unable to sort of get to the table. So the magic ticket is number one, saying, whoa, money is something we design. And then now what are the rules that it has to meet? And have we done it correctly? So this whole world is beginning to open up for us right now.
Okay. So in effect, we don't have to, money doesn't have to be scarce in order to have value.
Right. I think, and this I have to say, I think is one of the biggest lies or non-truths or half-truths out there. And it's so impactful. One of the first things that started me on the journey of writing The End of Scarcity, I was finishing a master's degree, and I was writing, on economics, something. And I opened an old textbook, and the first tenet was money has to be scarce to have value. And I thought, oh boy, are we in trouble. This goes against who we are as human beings. It goes against nature. Every time a baby is born, that community is richer because a new expression, unique expression of the divine has come to be with us.
Mhm.
And so how is it that money, which represents all of our contributive, all of our productivity, how does it have to be scarce to have value? Now, when I say that to a lot of people, they say in shock, well, what do you mean it should be unlimited? Because the mind often produces this sort of dualistic thinking.
Mhm.
And the answer is no, not at all. It shouldn't be scarce to have value, and it certainly shouldn't be unlimited, but it should be flexible. And so the money in circulation should be more or less constantly changing, representing our productive capacity and our real supply and demand with one another.
Mhm.
Many people have known this in history. It's the main reason why the colonists fled England when they came to America. They were all in debt. There was really no hope in their scarcity-based money system. And so they started a proper new money system that was going to allow the contributive abundance and create a framework for humanity, a blueprint.
Okay. Well, what about precious metals, gold, silver, platinum? I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, let's stock up on these, and should I get the gold bricks or put it in jewelry or whatever? So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think this is really a fascinating concept because you hear this a lot, especially the more uncomfortable or the more sort of demolition that we see in our society, and we worry about using the dollar as a store of value, that
Mhm.
gold and metal seem like a better idea. And, I would say today, the problem with it is that gold has never worked, because gold is your core scarcity money. And my father used to always say to me, those who have the gold make the golden rules. And the problem with gold is that there are enough people with extra wealth who can easily, quickly buy up all the gold that's on the market. So
Mhm.
if we were to go to a gold-based money system, it would solidify oligarchy. It would bring back real peasantry and serfdomhood. It would make it very obvious. And then, any kinds of rules could immediately be changed. And certainly people wanting to start businesses or do different things would not have access to credit. The other thing that we have seen in history is that if the dollar was ever 100% backed by gold, that quantity of gold circulating is too small for the imagination and productivity of the people, and also sadly for the drive for war that we've experienced. So the gold continues to be diluted, and
Mhm.
if you start with it being 100 backed, it's soon 50 backed, 25, 10 backed. And then, of course, you run into the mechanics. You can't prove if it's really gold. The sophistication of our financial systems, people cannot carry gold around. It's, ancient people knew it wasn't safe,
Mhm.
right? So it isn't operationally a real thing. It's something that makes people feel a little bit better during panic times. But it's not, it bumps up against this primary tenet. Money should not be scarce to have value. And so when you run into things like Bitcoin or gold, which have value because they're perceived to be scarce, they may be a store of value, but they're absolutely not money.
Okay, well, you brought it up. Not well, at the time of this recording, the FTX collapse was maybe like 2 weeks ago. I have bought 3 books on Bitcoin, read them cover to cover twice, don't understand a thing. So, what is this type of currency, and how does it have any value at all? I can't wrap my mind around it, and perhaps you can help me and some of the listeners because I just don't get it.
Well, Bitcoin, in theory, Bitcoin could be a really wonderful thing. My big argument is that it's not money. Now, Bitcoin is simply digital gold. That's really the best way to describe it. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins ever in existence. And by 2040, we will have all of the Bitcoins that will ever be in circulation. So we're close. It sort of slows down as we get to the end. The issue is that, and people can own little pieces of those 21 million, but again, it's not enough of a money for a planet that's thriving, for all types of people who want to increase their standard of living to be as a money. So Bitcoin is digital, and really it's just a series of complicated string of numbers and letters, which, like a safe deposit box in the bank, you have your own private key, and then there's a public key. And by keeping your private key private, you can go to the bank, you can go into your Bitcoin account and access your Bitcoin or where you're storing your value. And then you can use it as money, except the price is extremely volatile. This is one of the things that also does not make it money that way. And it makes it more of a speculative investment or speculative gamble right now. So the reason why it works so well is that the accounting book, if I pass a Bitcoin to you and you pass one to your son and he passes it to my sister back to her husband, there's a public accounting book called the ledger, the blockchain ledger, that shows pseudonymously, so it just has your public key, where that Bitcoin has been, how the flow of the transactions have been. And so this is actually very powerful that we have a public accounting book that's transparent. Here's the power of Bitcoin, or quote unquote cryptocurrency, is the blockchain. This allows peer-to-peer or person-to-person to exchange money or value with one another without an administrator, without a bank, without a government, without really a regulator to some degree. And so the value is in the blockchain. But again, Bitcoin as a money, it's just digital gold. And so it, again, may serve some point of a safety, a storage of value. But if it goes truly mainstream, as it has in El Salvador, you would have the wealthiest people buy up all the Bitcoin, and the people who are using it as money, if they needed to buy a coffee or their rent, soon they would have no Bitcoin.
Okay, so it's just like the gold then. If someone bought all the gold up, if they buy all the Bitcoin, the same scenario where you have the wealthy and then the peasants and nothing in between.
That's right. And then you get the strengthening of oligarchies through this. Now, Bitcoin as one source of money, gold as one source of money. When you start to get into a multi-sphere of what we can prove as legitimate currencies, then the world starts to change. Then you start getting freedom and social mobility and investment into beautiful ideas. But when you have one currency, and then you automatically get oligarchies, fascism, all the bad stuff in the world.
Okay. You brought up regulation. I was surprised when I read in your book that the FDIC is only funded 5%. I mean, everybody says, oh, okay, well, my money's protected to 250. I just put 250 here. That's 250,000, and I'll be fine. But based on what I read in your book, that's a big no-no.
You know, I think I still would bet operationally it's fine. The only problem with that is that is still someone deciding to make it fine, right? It is shocking to know that the FDIC is not funded, but the FDIC is really backed by the faith in the country, the belief that the country is working, and that they will make good, the people in power will make good on their promises. So it's not overly, it doesn't really give you a warm and fuzzy feeling when a lot of dislocation and things are sort of crumbling and we're in this period of destruction and rebirth. It's just, you know, I even in the book, I point to the Federal Reserve as being the wizard behind the curtain. We believe they can do a lot more to control the money supply than they really can. And, but it's that belief in the Federal Reserve, what makes it work. If people start losing their belief in it, a lot of our stronghold and promises evaporate pretty quickly.
Okay, but if you look at the current political climate in the United States, and I'm not taking sides here, I'm just putting viewpoints out. There's one viewpoint of, let me control everything and then I'll dole it down to everybody else. And there's another viewpoint trying to come from a sense of equity. If the powers that be are the ones that, they want to control everything and they'll just dole out to you what they feel you should have, wouldn't the country basically collapse over time?
It goes to the same point through either narrative, right? And this is really what's kind of fascinating, because you can take either side, or even close, I would say probably 30% on, if we looked at the political spectrum like a line, and you make that line a circle, the two ends of the line become on the same point at the circle. Right? And so this is even fascinating. I've had Ellen Brown, who started the public banking movement, is a good friend of mine. And she started really getting behind universal basic income. And I said, wow, this is really dangerous, because again, you're moving to the same type of centralization that people on the other side, like libertarians, maybe like Peter Schiff, who's out there promoting gold, 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 you end up at the same place. Either saying, listen, let's have somebody control our systems, whether it is a series of different type of payments that are coming to people. And people have to remember that even if we are in favor at the moment with whoever is sending payments, that can easily change. And somebody could come in and say, no, you have to stand on your head on Wednesdays and wear a purple and orange striped zigzag sweater before you get your payment. And this is sort of how everything melds, sadly, into old school kings and queens hierarchies. We really have not fully been freed from that system yet. And then likewise, when you work with a money system that has not been designed properly, and you say, no, we're going to not have any safety nets. We're going to let things fail. We're going to let the market determine everything. Again, you get to oligarchy, because it is the dollar, it is the money, it is the gas that runs the car that has to be designed properly. And that's actually the linchpin. And this is sort of what I love about the book. It's disheartening to some people at the beginning, because I say very clearly, no political solution can solve our problems of scarcity and not enoughness. And we have a lot invested in that. And no economic theory, no new theory, universal basic income, reduction of taxes, or social issues. No solution that comes forward can actually meet the solution that we're looking for. But the problem is we don't know that there's somewhere else to look. And the real problem is that the money is designed incorrectly. It is actually, we don't have money today, which is sort of another fascinating kind of shocking point. But when we create money out of borrower's debt, we're actually using people's mortgages, their college debt, their hospital debt temporarily as our money. And when this is done, that form of currency or dollar is what produces the illusion of scarcity we're caught in. And it also breaks down society. It makes us fight politically and economically and socially. And as we begin to splinter and fracture, that reptilian brain gets kicked in, and we can't catch the bigger picture that is just waiting for us to get a whiff of.
Okay. In the book, you say money and wealth are not the same. What do you mean by that? Because most people think if you're wealthy, you got tons of money, or vice versa.
I really think this is almost, I don't know if this is the unlocking concept that really brings us to this whole new world that's waiting for us. Money and wealth are totally separate. They're totally separate. And often when I say that, people say, well, then what the heck is wealth if it's not money? And usually I say it is everything you can buy with money. So all of our resources, everything that's in a store, all the work and goods and services we produce for one another, that's wealth. But more importantly, wealth is who we are. It is the beautiful inspirations that we have or that come through us on and off throughout the day. It's the passion that each person has a passion. And though still most people can't articulate their passion or even really commune with it enough, there is a unique gift in each human being. And it really is unstoppable because our whole lives, it's calling to us. And this is the basis of wealth. So it can't be separated from our beings. Human beings are wealthy by their nature. And so it begins here. And when we tune into our passions and our beauty of how we want to contribute to one another, because we are truly happy and fulfilled when we're contributing to the world in some way, some beautiful way that lifts others up. And then actually fulfillment and the sense of being alive, because then we can see we really are connected to one another, activates. This is really the basis of wealth. And money's still a wonderful thing, even though today it's been contorted. It is just really, it's almost like sometimes I look at it like a green goddess waiting to say, playfully saying, how can I serve you today? What is it that you want to create in society? And how can I be a better tool of exchange? So money is merely a technology. It's supposed to be very neutral. It's not supposed to have any intrinsic value like gold or other things. It is the equal sign in the equation. And the question is, did we build the computer properly? Is the phone built well? And we're still at the level of consciousness where collectively we need to kind of keep score on how we're contributing and what we're withdrawing. But when we keep that tally, when we make that tally system, that scoreboard properly, it'll up-level consciousness, because anyone who wants to contribute in a way that there's true demand for, they will get funded right away.
Okay, well, thank you. And I truly agree 100% with everything that you're saying. But let me ask this. I want to talk about the C word, and that's credit. A lot of people want it. Some people abuse it. A lot of people are talking about credit scores. I mean, if you want to rent a house, I think you have to have a 600 minimum, or depending on where you live. 850 or 900 is supposed to be really good. So what about credit? How much should you have? Is it really a good thing to have? And where would you, if you were going by gauges of scores, where would you want your score to truly be?
In this existing paradigm where we are, credit is important, right? And even just that sense of integrity in terms of paying bills on time as is possible, looking to kind of get through the system so that one has a solid ground underneath, so that higher inspiration also can come. But the real problem is that money was never supposed to be created as mortgage debt. And so I think this is, to back up, this is probably the best way to answer this question, is that today, when money comes into existence, it's only when people go to a bank and get a loan. It can be a college loan, hospital loan, a house loan, and credit cards as well. But there's no money in the bank that the bank is keeping. The bank creates it on the spot, and it's not really made out of the thin air. It represents our ability to go out there and earn it and fish it back for the bank. But the problem with this is that means that mortgages, it lets housing go up on an unlimited number. Down payments can be 0. They can be 10%. In the 70s, they used to be 40%, which kept housing prices lower, right? And college debt, there was never supposed to be college debt. And in the 70s, tuition was basically free, or it was very inexpensive relative to salary, because there were no loans available. And it's the loans being available that drive the housing prices higher and higher and higher, because someone will borrow more and more and more if they think they can sell the price for higher. So we get into this self-defeating, cannibalistic process by this, which in turn makes rent higher. And so if money was not created as borrower's debt, a home would be a home. It wouldn't be looked at as an investment or a spending thing. College would be an investment. It wouldn't be something that's turning into indentured servitude. And then a sense of further fracturing of society of whether people paid for it. And then they're angry that other people are having their debts wiped out. Other people need their debt wiped out. This whole really other conundrum. So the big problem is when you create money out of mortgage debt, when people go to pay their monthly mortgage or when they pay their debt back, not only is that portion of the debt extinguished, but the money is also extinguished.
Okay.
So we have less money in society every time somebody pays a debt. And it's not better if they don't pay a debt because the whole society collapses and the banking system collapses. But at the same point in time, this shows you why we're on the hamster wheel, having to borrow. And all of the things in the American dream, having a home, having a college education, having a job that you find fulfilling, it begins to break down. And then we become hypersensitive about our credit rating, because when you create money as debt, when you create money out of consumer debt, rather than it coming into existence representing our productive value, you now reduce people and citizens of a country to consumers of the debt machine. And they are hypersensitive to getting any job, even if it kills their soul, to over-consuming, to kind of, from all the heavy-duty marketing, and to even feel a little bit better about themselves. And then to be on this repay cycle. We have been parasited out completely by a money that's misdesigned.
Wow. I mean, when you put it in those terms, it's like, boy, have we been taken advantage of and asleep at the wheel. Seems like we're just not where we, really should be in our system. You are the cryptocurrency queen. You've studied a lot on it. So say someone, and you did explain, it very well. So say someone wants to get into cryptocurrency, what would be their first step as you buy your little piece of that, 20 million that's out there, 21 million?
It'll be 21 million in by 2040. The beauty is, it's not financial advice or any of those kinds of things, but how you come to learn something is by having firsthand experience. And so anybody who wants to speculate or they have money that they're absolutely willing to lose, they could go to any exchange, or later this year, I think Fidelity is even going to do Bitcoin for retail customers. So people, which is probably a really wonderful thing because they'll have someone to help them. They won't be doing it on their own. And, but definitely still disclaimer, no financial advice. And it would be money that someone would be absolutely willing to lose. But the beauty about experiencing cryptocurrencies, or whether partaking in them or just watching them on a website like coinmarketcap.com or even bitcoin.com, these kinds of things, you start to learn more about it. And what was so breakthrough, what's so important about the cryptocurrency revolution is it changes the mindset that we see, wait a minute, not just governments can create legitimate forms of money. Now, no one's looking to get rid of the national currency or the dollar or any of these kinds of things. But what Bitcoin really did is say, wow, peers to peer who really care about the community can start to issue a currency that has validity. And this is what I will say when you go back in history, and certainly monetary history. And that's why the End of Scarcity is full of fun and fascinating monetary history, because it is our real history. It's the backstory of every story. You will find that every time society thrived, there was a democratization of the legitimate creation of money. And so I could issue Kristen dollars. Maybe I could get you to take a few, but you certainly would not put your life savings into them, nor would I want you to. But what makes money legitimate is people accepting them. And then it has to follow a really easy formula. I have the formula in the book, but when money follows this formula, it's done correctly. And every time society thrived in the recorded history that we know, they were doing money correctly. And so now blockchain is affording us this unbelievable opportunity that has never been before humanity. I really do believe that all of our ancestors are sitting on the sidelines cheering us on, because even as money was done correctly, for example, the founding fathers, the colonists did it correctly, and France and England didn't like it. The hierarchical structures there were absolutely, they were losing their control. So when the Revolutionary War came, it absolutely came about the money, not about freedom of religion. And when the French and the England came with their tall ships, they had big printing presses on those ships, and they just wanted to disrupt this beautiful, proper quantity of money that needed to be in circulation. And even though, we won the American Revolution, we only kept our banking system until about 1812. And so since then, we've been on variations of a scarcity-based old system.
Wow.
Right. So this is what's really phenomenal, is no civilization before has had technology coming out of the box, getting some sort of mass consciousness adoption, and the ancient wisdom, the simple wisdom of how to do money correctly, coming right to this nexus point where we are going to see phenomenal change.
Yes, we are. Now, again, your book, The End of Scarcity, The Dawn of the New Abundant World. Why, or what sparked you to write it in story form, story fashion? I mean, you sit down, folks, and you read the book. It's like reading a novel, but she's teaching at the same time. But the teaching is put in such lay terms, everyday common terms, that you don't even realize that you're learning till you're like, oh, ding, ding, ding. And the light comes on. It's like, oh, okay, I can use that. That's what she's teaching. So how did you come to that, to share all of your insight with people?
Oh, thank you. That's so wonderful. I wrote it sort of straightforward and kind of in a boring format years before. And I really wrote it to begin with for myself, so that I had learned, I had relearned, because even as a little girl, I had to earn my allowance explaining to my father at 5 years old, 6 years old, how the markets worked.
Wow.
This is what kind of, I had a really fascinating father, and he wanted to make sure his little girls were prepared in the world. And so I felt like I understood money. And then, when I was even a few months after graduating college, I went right to work at Merrill Lynch, where, I've been in the financial world my whole life. So I thought, surely I understood it. And when I saw the collapse coming of 2008, I was lucky to see it ahead of time, but I was so disheartened because I could see something was wrong in my worldview when I saw everything dissolve the way it did. And I was determined to find out what I was missing. And at that point, that's when I discovered we don't have money. Today, in the past, we're using borrower's debt, and then how this destroys a society and destroys the American dream. So I was heartbroken. I think I was depressed for at least 9 months. I was truly sad. And then I decided, you know what, there has to be a solution. So I actually went on the journey that's in this book. I did everything that's in the book. I just did it over a much longer period of time. It took me 7 years. And it dawned on me one morning, after I'd gotten some advice from a friend, that I should tell this as my story, that I could write this in such a way, like the Da Vinci Code or an adventure story, that would really be fascinating to people, and give them, because money should be fascinating and it should be easy to understand. It should be written in terms of 1 + 1 = 2, because money is a simple technology to help us exchange our beautiful, developing, expressive gifts with one another. And therefore, if it's complicated, I haven't done a good job. And if we don't understand money, then we're missing some truth in it. And this is when all of a sudden I even started getting these visions of how to piece the book together. And I did create a composite character who comes with me on this adventure. And he represents all the people I met over the 7 years, but to act as the reader, to ask the questions that the reader will have and also not know to have yet. And then it allows for a repetition to come, which is absolutely needed, because we've indoctrinated and conditioned, and we're like fish in the water. We swim with money without questioning it. So it's still a process to say, oh. And, our generation is needing this information more than any period of time now, because the money systems are getting ready to change in a big way. And 100 years ago, the knowledge that's in the book was common knowledge. And it's been edited out of books. It's been made not fun. And so this is our opportunity. And I pray that this goes wide and far, because we have such a beautiful future so easily to create once we get the basic education that our great-grandparents, our grandparents, their parents knew.
Okay, so if we read your book, The End of Scarcity, would that help us with navigating this current financial situation that we're going through right now? I mean, of course, we have to be prudent, so you're not telling them to go get the book and read it and your problems are over. But would that help us?
I think it really will. Some of the surprising feedback that I've gotten from the book is a remarkable number of people have gotten freed of the stress of money, the guilt around money, the shame around money, feeling all these kind of low self-esteem qualities that they're not enough because they are struggling with money. And then it gives you the whole picture, how you see everyone is truly being used. We're being used for the debt machine. And it was meant to be the opposite way. Money was meant to be in service to us. And so this is a fundamental amount of stress that people, what I'm hearing is people get freed from this. And many people have even said to me that abundance starts to flow into their lives. And I think because their relationship with money changes. So that's
mindset changes, don't you think?
Mindset changes. You actually can see a pathway instead of just saying, oh, think positive thoughts or get inspired by something. You see a blueprint, how communities can begin this. You see evidence how these new properly mated systems are happening already. And you will be so much more educated in the next year or two how these massive changes come, and you will know sort of what to get behind and what's really for the freedom of humanity and what is for more control and oligarchy. And we can have a lot of criticism for the powers that be, whether it's corruption or too much power kind of consolidated at the top of the hierarchical structures. But what I will say is that they have provided a certain level of stability for us, for humanity, and it has had its values, but humanity is also evolving. And, with the internet, with information being free, now it's time for these structures to flatten out. And, there may be some resistance to that. But the new structure of life will be more like intersecting circles, like the flower of life. And all these circles of exchange that come together will strengthen society, and our money systems will be sound. And like a human body, all the different cells in the body, the currency or the blood will flow with the oxygen to all cells in the body, but not from someone passing legislation or redistributing assets or income or these kinds of things, because that's more dependency, but rather from the true empowerment bottom up of recognizing that people are really sovereign beings and each and every one is talented and creative, and now we'll have access to systems to make their dreams real.
And is that what you envision when you mentioned a few times that there's a new world around money coming? Is that what you're alluding to?
It's part of it. We like in the 1800s, they had wildcat banking. So you could take almost any city. In Massachusetts, they had big leather factories where they made boots. The city of Lawrence issued its own money. Tampa issued its own money. And they did it off of the productivity of the people. The problem was nobody knew if the certificate was counterfeit. Did they really have the production? I really do think we're going to sort of wildcat banking 10.0, where we will see possibly, and this is hypothetical, but, companies like Amazon beginning to issue their own money instead of bonds or stock. And local farmers will do this, regional farmers. Apple can do this. And Ben and Jerry's could issue Ben and Jerry's dollars. They could be used in Africa as a currency if we could prove they had the real supply and demand for their product. So it's anytime there was a Great Depression in Europe and Switzerland, they would come out with a community currency called the WIR, WIR, and it would buoy because during depressions, the money supply completely shrinks up. And even though the people want to work and can work, and a lot of the goods and services are there, they just don't connect because the tickets of exchange dry up. Well, this is ludicrous. So why don't we make our own valid certificates of exchange? And that's what a dollar is. So, alternative currencies have been around forever. We've just never been able to make them truly transparent and prove their legitimacy. And now with blockchain, going away from the speculation that cryptocurrency is still running off of the exploitative model, saying, I need to get mine, I need to get enough of mine, and then I can get off the hamster wheel. Well, we should never be on the hamster wheel to begin with. And so instead, if the alternative currencies using the blockchain would simply provide the tickets of exchange between the buyers and the sellers, and humanity will start to live on the ebb and flows of life rather than the booms and bust. And they will join nature in the natural synchronicity of living, still being just as profitable as they want, contributive as they want, but without the contortions. And this is, it's just so profound. Sometimes it makes me want to pass out how exciting what stands before us. There is always another side, and the other side can help us out of the birth canal or help us down the birth canal. And so the other side maybe being these old structures that still want to maintain power. And even though they've provided positivities in our life, they do a lot of damage, like a bull in a china shop. There's not a lot of nuance to it. And so, they have more of a limited vision. And I think you're going to hear a lot more about the CBDCs coming, which is a central bank digital currency. And this is largely, it's absolutely linked to the blockchain, but instead of really being an empowering tool of technology, it will be a lot of surveillance. It may very well be tied to where you go online. You'll have no privacy, and financial institutions may turn off your access to your money. We've seen this recently with PayPal announcing a $2,500 payment if they decide you are contributing to misinformation, whoever decides it's misinformation. And the problem with this stuff is, even if we agree with it within the current framework, it easily changes once the framework is in place. MasterCard and Visa, it's been rumored for a long time that they've been working on different types of structures that, again, are linked to ESG, which is environmental social governance scores. And so if they decide you've used too much carbon, they turn off your access to your money. And so we may very possibly be getting a global currency that is on this system in the next year or two. And I don't really view that as a positive. It may come for some sense of stability, but the problem is, as we've seen in the euro with the European zone, the smaller countries who could not compete with Germany were severely depressed by not being able to create enough of their own currency. And if the currency represents the productive capacity of the people, that country should be able to create as much currency as they have productivity. And, so when you get a central, especially the further away the power is from your local community, the less power the community has. And so if a global currency comes, and whether it comes from the Bank of International Settlements or the World Bank or the World Economic Forum, the United States may only get so many dollars. And that means that even if people have great ideas, they can't access proper credit. So I do think this is a large possibility that we will see in the next year to 2 years maximum, we will see this type of central bank digital currency come. Maybe each country will have their own to begin with. We will lose all of our financial privacy at that point, and maybe possibly access to our own money. And then it may go to a global currency. I'm not so terribly worried about it, because in every poison or every disease comes the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will wake us up to the fact that, hey, understanding money is important. And even if I was bored about it before, it's really interested in me. So maybe I ought to be interested in it. And there are all these wonderful ways now to learn about it that are fun, that are not clunky.
Mm-hmm.
And also we will have the ability to create tributary alternative systems. And as long as there are alternative systems, not only will freedom prevail and each person being able to decide how they want to live, but new beautiful ideas, maybe even all new technologies for the environment and all these wonderful things. If people want them, they will have the opportunity for funding. So I think we're on the precipice of that, which is very huge.
And exciting.
So it could be the most revolutionary time of our lives coming in the next couple of years.
Yes, I can agree. I feel that down in my bones. Now, are you working with people individually through Raymond James, or?
I am. So I've had my practice for 30 years. I still have my wealth management practice, which is financial planning based. And though sometimes I get into these kinds of conversations with clients that I've had relationships with for a long time, it's not really what I'm doing. We're real financial planning, real investment within the mainstream concepts of that. And it is fascinating because these are really two very separate worlds. And at the same point in time, they're happening at the same time. So I think we need to be educated in both worlds, and we need to be a little bit more flexible. We need to be able to do what we need to do in the old understanding, conventional standing of the world. And we have to have our antenna up as to how this world is changing. And then to be able to be, reinforce the positivity for one another enough so that we actually truly can catch how positive this is for us, because it can be scary.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And you know what? Kudos to your dad for teaching you about money. So it wasn't the story of all, go to college, find a guy and let him do it for you. So kudos to your dad, very forward thinking. I really appreciate that. Kristen, I've enjoyed our time together. I could talk to you for another 3 hours. I know I've held you longer than our agreed upon time. So thank you for staying here with me. And if you ever want to come back and talk about money some more, please do, because I think this is something, especially as we get more into this change, that people are going to know, want to know about. And when you get your next book out, it's coming, girl, give me a call. Okay.
The audiobook should be up in about a week or maybe 3 weeks max.
Okay.
So,
well,
and
you'll like it because it's a story. So if you like listening to stories, she's got a great story to tell, and you're going to learn along the way.
Oh, thank you so much, Monique. I could talk to you forever too. This was so much fun.
Yes, it's been a lot of fun. And to the audience, thank you for joining us as we collectively get over it. And please remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of discovering the end of scarcity and creating more abundant world. Light and love, Agape.